Backshifting is the term we use for moving a verb expression backward in time. We use this when relaying information that was first conveyed in the past, as with reported speech, or with some complex sentences based on cause and effect, such as conditional sentences. Visual learners may want to consider a timeline in which now moves forward as it does in life. Relative to now, every event and time period seems to move backward. Tomorrow becomes today, and today becomes yesterday. Recent events move further into the past. Verb phrases need to change with the times. For cause and effect situations, future turns to present, which turns to past, which turns to past perfect. But reported situations can get a little trickier. The way that a verb backshifts often depends on the context. Let me show you what I mean before we get into an alternate method. I'll presume you're already familiar with all the tenses. We'll start with the present. When it moves backward, it may become past since that moment is gone now. But if that verb isn't finished yet, or if its effects are still relevant, then we use present perfect. Then again, a present simple verb expressing something that's always true is probably still true, so it should remain in the present simple form. Think about it like this. Forget that the verb used to be present and just consider how it's used now. That will tell you what tense you need, just like any verb that isn't backshifted. The past is more straightforward. Past becomes past perfect, which I like to think of as super past. Present perfect also becomes past perfect. But that's as far back as we go. A past perfect verb stays a past perfect verb. On to future tenses. A future event shifted back may be less far in the future, or it may be in the present, or it could even be in the past now. Again, it depends on the context. The other problem is that the future isn't set in stone, so we can't guarantee it'll come true and even make it into the present and then the past. So we typically use what's called future in the past to express a backshifted verb. Was and were going to, and would, express intentions or expectations that we used to have for the future. One thing to keep in mind is that the continuous aspect should remain consistent. In other words, if you start with a continuous verb, the backshifted result should also be continuous. But if it starts as a simple or non-continuous tense, it'll probably stay simple. It's the same with the negative trait. A negative verb phrase, once backshifted, remains a negative verb phrase. So, we've got this diagram, which makes sense when you consider each shift individually and when you understand the context. But some students would rather not think of it in terms of tenses. The other way to think about backshifting focuses on specific words that learners should already be familiar with. Most tenses include auxiliary verbs, and that's where we need to look. Consider the special verbs be, do, and have. We use them all the time, so students know both their present and their past forms. Am and is become was, are becomes were, do and does become did, and have and has become had. We use the same shift when they're helping verbs. See how they apply to different tenses and structures? Notice that in each case, we alter the helping verb, but the main verb remains the same. If we shift back further, was and were become had been, regardless of whether to be is the main verb or a helping verb. Okay, now modals are another type of auxiliary verb, so let's look at the most common ones. Will becomes would, can becomes could, should works for both future and present, and may becomes might. If we want to make them past, all we need to do is add have at the end. Would've, could've, should've, might've, easy as that. For multi-word modals, you just need to backshift the first word of the phrase, using the rules we already know. The rest stays the same. In fact, there are only two reasons the main verb needs to change. The first is when you add have before it. In this case, the next verb in that phrase, whether main or auxiliary, should take on the past participle form. The other reason the main verb might change is when you simply don't have any auxiliary verbs at all, as with shifting the positive sentence from a present simple into a past simple. You've got to backshift something, after all. Some learners may prefer using the tense shifting method. It has fewer things to remember, but it does require more thinking to apply it. So other learners might prefer the word shifting method. Although there's a bit more to remember, it at least involves auxiliary verbs that students already know pretty well. Try both with your class and see what works for them.